am the chairperson of Heartlines, and I'm representing the Heartlines board, and I'd like to welcome you. Great to this, or that we can call it this like a childbirth, like giving birth to something that is quite small, that needs to be fed and to grow. But it's quite a proud moment for us as Heartlines to be tackling one of the biggest issues that we have that makes community and getting involved. But for all of you who knows Heartlines, that's what defines Heartlines is instead of just complaining about things and wishing things will happen, Heartlines does something about it. So on behalf of Heartlines board and management, thank you. And we also like to thank deeply BBD for hosting us today as a partner. Much appreciation. Most of the conversations and of things will be done by our CEO from Heartlines, Garth, and Lucky from BBD. And then after that, they will take questions after they do the presentation. Thank you.
Evening, everyone. And thanks, Ivan. Ivan got some instruction about 5 minutes ago about his role here this evening. So that's not unusual. That's pretty much how we roll. And so just incredibly grateful to have everybody here this evening. So we're going to talk to you this evening about Fixlocal, and this is really just baby steps. We're beginning this process. So it's taken a while. You know, babies take 9 months to gestate. I'm a doctor, I know that. And this actually has taken us about 18 months. So it might be a little bit overcooked. I'm hoping not. So ultimately, what is the aim of this? Why are we doing this? Is the big question. Aim really is to inspire and support communities of active citizens working with local authorities, importantly here, or holding them to account. So this is not an adversarial thing. It's about both. It's working with or holding to account for a more prosperous and equitable South Africa. And what was the genesis of this? Why did we even start to think about Fixlocal? So a while back as Heartlines, about 12 years ago, we started a project called Values in Action, and we produced a series called Hopeville, which was a series that dealt with a guy fixing a municipal swimming pool, and it was did incredibly well. So this sits within a Heartlines group of concepts, which is about how do we connect people to becoming more active within their communities. So it doesn't come out of nowhere. But actually it is in response to the fact that the deep sense is that people feel fairly powerless often to deal with their local issues. Prior to 94, there was one big issue, which was the fight against apartheid. Now we've got big issues, but they are much less easy to hold on to. So the issues like corruption, this is not something that people can get their hands around, but things that people care about is what's happening locally, is what's happening in your street, what's happening in your school, what's happening in your neighborhood. These are things that people care about. And we need to help people to say, how do we deal with the things that we're seeing daily? And what's happening is that people don't, by and large, deal with them because they don't know how. We often give up because we actually don't know how. And we all hear the stories about municipalities being burnt down. And that doesn't have to be the solution. We need to give people better ideas about how to go about this. So we've got some experience around how to build digital platforms. And our first sort of venture into this was For Good. And some of the staff from For Good are here this evening, which has now become the largest volunteering platform in Africa, connecting causes to people. This is not our first foray into the digital world. But ultimately, Fixlocal is there to do a few things. Sorry, I'm going to use the clicker here. Oh, clicker not working. Lucky? Listen, I said to Lucky, listen, dude, this is going to be a tag team effort. This is above my pay grade to deal with all the technology here. So, all right, so what about if I use this? Ah, look at that. Excellent, excellent. Okay, we're back online. Right, so Fixlocal is basically, coming back to this, is yes, on the one hand, it is about how do we, Lucky? This is great, it's a tech project. Okay? This is a tech project, we can't get the tech to work. And now? Aha. So on the one hand, it's yes, we need to mobilize and we need to give people tools to become active citizens. So yes, we want more people being active in their communities, fixing local. But at the same time, we also want that, which is, and it's quite interesting, this is from eThekwini, Durban eThekwini. This is their ad, which is a before and after. Wouldn't that be nice to see that it actually was a before and after? But that's ultimately what we're looking for here, is not we've got citizens taking over from their local government, etc., and doing things for themselves. No, this is ultimately what we're going for. So it's a mixture of active citizens on the one hand, and municipalities and local government and local authorities that work. That has got to be the end goal. So it's not just fixing local, that has got to be our end goal. So, okay, so what is it? It's basically a website, and now, Lucky, if we can, we're going to demonstrate it to you. It's got 4 components to it. It's how do you, based on your location, how do you easily, in the way that is likely to work. So in Joburg, for instance, there's a website. It wasn't developed by BBD, that's for sure. I think it was developed by a 3-year-old with 100 million rand, and it does not work. But so essentially, if you tell people, report it to the city, that doesn't work. But we have, through research, we found out what is your likely way of actually finding somebody at home and reporting something. So here's Fixlocal, live as we speak. Sorry, there we go. So Fixlocal helps you to find out how to report local issues, or as a last resort, fix it yourself, the 3 steps. So let's go to report it. We're starting in 18 municipalities. Okay, Johannesburg, Cape Town. Now, Bethel's an interesting one. It just happens to be where Lucky comes from. In its own right, it is, I'm sure, a big metro. Buffalo City, Ekurhuleni, eThekwini, George, Kwabecha, Kimberley, Mangaung, Mbombela, Mohali City, Mzunduzi, which is Maritzburg, for those of you who don't know, Newcastle. Again, that is because of a partnership with SALGA, South African Local Government Association, said we want one municipality that is outside of the big metros. Rustenburg, Soweto, Tshwane. So Soweto sits under Joburg, but people will often search for Soweto. So let's go. Is everybody ready? Are you excited? I hope this bloody thing works. Okay. Okay, confirm your location. Are we in Joburg? Yes. Fantastic. What a responsive audience. Okay. What should we choose? Electricity. It's a stuff up. I need to report it. Okay, no electricity in my road. Okay. Johannesburg electricity. We didn't send you to the website. We literally pulled out what are the most useful options for you to report electricity in Joburg. Yeah. For the online people. Do online people, do they exist? Okay, I'm just saying there's like, you know, we're in a, like the avatar world where there's a whole lot of like bots and stuff floating around. I'm going to introduce Lucky in a minute, but Lucky is, apart from being amazing, is amazing. So, so there you've got the key ways in which you can actually, these are the things that are likely to work. Steps for successful reporting. These are the types of things that you can report directly. No luck with reporting, you click here for more options, and I'll show you that in a minute. And then how to get your community involved. Each of these goes through to information that is really useful. This is a citizen activist portal. Okay. Was the solution helpful? The answer is very good. Okay. No luck, we'll come back to that because that's a lot of people's experience of this, no luck. And then importantly, the 4th component of Fixlocal, and this is really where it starts when Mandy came to us, is we've got stories of people doing this all over the country. Is actually, we are full of stories of people doing this, but there is no one repository we can actually find out and be inspired by other people doing this type of stuff. So here are all the electricity related stories, helping township entrepreneurs with solar power. What was the problem? How did they solve it? How to get your community involved, and so on. So it's a mixture of inspirational stories and how to. So let's go back. No luck. Does that sound familiar? Thank you. Okay, now this is like the killer application. This is like you're going to have your socks blown completely off. So there are a whole range of things here that we can do. These are activist tools. Organize your community, fundraise with local projects. Under each of those, information on the best way to do this. Safely whistleblow if you pick up corruption. Amplify your voice through media. How to start a WhatsApp group. How to set up a neighborhood watch. How to start a small community project. How to get your community involved. Whole range of things. But actually, your local councillor actually should represent you at local government level. How many of you know who your local councillor is? Yeah, but you're all activists, man. That was such a wrong answer. How many of you know who the local councillor is for here? This place where we're standing right now. Okay, Leo, man. Okay. You guys are really stuffing up my presentation. Okay. So, detect my location. Lucky this better work. Look at that. Eh? How's this bloody miracle? There we are, right there. Detect my location. Is that my location? Very good. So let's see which. We're in Ward 117. Okay, how magical is that? And this here is your local councillor. It's from the DA, the ward councillor for 117. You want to get hold of him? Not everyone wants to get hold of him. Okay. Okay, but some people do. Lucky, this is your time to shine. Okay, this is like a little bit of.
Good evening, I'm tech support. At this point, what we really try to do is to bridge the gap between citizens of the country and their local representatives. And so what we're doing is that we're trying to surface that information on how to get hold of them, which is, believe it or not, quite tricky to find. And so while we're collating this, what we're doing is we're keeping it in a document that we then make available to the people who use this platform. And so when we take a look at our councillor's name, we can see that this is Timothy Truluck. Timothy Francis Truluck. And what we can then do is find Timothy Truluck in our document, and we can actually see their email address that we should be using to contact them, along with their publicly available contact numbers. I can see our CEO, our CIO tensing up. So this is all publicly available information. And very soon, what we will be doing in the next few weeks is that as we collate more of this information and we verify it, this information will start being available directly on the application. So that when you click on a phone number, it can already start calling from your phone. When you click on an email, it can already open up your email client and maybe even start drafting the email for you, depending on your issue.
Thanks, Lucky. This is, you can see why I handed over at this point. Interestingly enough, the IEC does not have this information. It's publicly available information, but the IEC doesn't have it. We've had to go to, it's in the public domain, but we've had to find it. So this is one of the steps of no luck. But remember that there's a whole lot of other things that you can do. Ultimately, this is about putting tools in people's hands to become active citizens locally and around accountability and so on. But then you've still got no luck. There are certain things that you can do where you actually fix it yourself. So let's take the environmental issues. Should we see what to do if you've got a fallen tree, you phoned your councillor, you've organized your neighborhood, you've set up your WhatsApp thing, you've sent a zillion messages, it's still lying over your road, what do you do? And by the way, just as an aside, this is as applicable in Sandton as it is in Soshanguve. This is not about saying this is for the rich suburbs. This is a problem that is across our country, and this type of information is to be made available for people no matter where they are. So it's not just a sort of like, so let's take a fallen tree, for instance. So this is how to successfully deal with a fallen tree. And ultimately, we're still saying report it. But if you can't report it, go ahead, and this is what to do. And then remember, under all of this, we continue to give you related stories in the environment. So that is Fixlocal. We are, as I say, the app is coming soon, but right now you can get this on WhatsApp. So here is the link to WhatsApp. You go to the website, and you click on WhatsApp, it will open onto your phone, and you'll be able to use Fixlocal. All the information you've just seen is also available through WhatsApp. So, I want to go back to the presentation. We lost the presentation. So we've just gone beyond presenting. There, yeah. So Fixlocal is not, Fixlocal is not trying to replicate a lot of good initiatives that are already out there. So ultimately, Fixlocal is a connector. So we're not in trying to say this is a whole new initiative. It's going to be all things to all people. Lucky, are we looking sweet? So we're connecting people. So depending on what the issue is, if your issue is corruption, then we're connecting you to groups like Corruption Watch or Outer, or if it's an environmental issue, to WESA. There's an initiative called Love Cities. There's Love Howick. There's Love whatever, Love Rosebank. I don't think it exists yet, but it's coming. There's Josie My Josie. There's Safer Spaces. There's lots of initiatives out there. There's no one repository. And clearly, if you're looking for something under the environment, we want to tell you which organizations are available in that area. So ultimately, we're an information connector. We are not the solution. So this is all very lovely. And what I did learn along the way over the years is this concept of build it and they will come does not exist. Lovely site, lots of lovely information. Who's going to use it? Okay, it's probably the big question everyone's asking. How do you get this information out here? And this is where I think we potentially got the most powerful part of Fixlocal. And that is collaborating already with some of the major media groups in the country. So we're collaborating with Daily Maverick, with News 24, with the Caxton Group, with Prime Media, the Indian Independent Publishers Association. Independent Publishers Association are the people who represent these small knock and drops, the little local publications sitting in small towns, etc. I think they've got over 180 different publications that they represent. And there it's not just about having a nice launch article. This is about whenever they report something that is of local interest, either a good news story about how a local council has gone over and beyond, or how, eThekwini municipalities put it all together, or the stories we hear all the time about that pothole is now a swimming pool. And by the way, they've got ducks in it. Okay, we're going to have those stories, but the idea is that they will byline it, not just once, but into the future. So at the end of the day, it says you too can fix local. Go to fixlocal.co.org.za. And that will be what builds this over time. It's not the launch article. It's not this, which, by the way, is an informal affair. It's just the beginning. So that is the ultimate idea here. And the second thing is brand ambassadors. By the way, congratulations. You're all now brand ambassadors. And Tracy, looking nervous there. Did you not get the memo? Did you not get the memo? Oh, good. Okay, so you're all brand ambassadors, but actually we've, a woman called Louise van Rijn, some of you may know her. She is from something called Philharmonia, Symphonia, that too. She has said, I want to be a brand ambassador for this. This is the sort of thing that we can spread through our networks. So that's ultimately the other way that this will spread, is as brand ambassadors. So that's where we are right now. Don't you like that graphic? Okay. So we really are at this is literally a soft launch to thank a lot of people, and that's coming now because this is basically, it takes a village to raise this child. And this is not something that is a Heartline's brilliance or me or any of my colleagues. It is a combination of people who have and organizations who've come behind this. And so just a few thank yous to those people. First of all, the Heartlines team, for whom this has been a side hustle, which potentially is going to become more of a central hustle. To Michelle and the For Good team. So Michelle was the first sort of manager. Where are you, Michelle? There you are. Of worked from For Good to begin the process here. Mark Haywood, he's not here. We offered for him to be at the launch this morning. He said, no, I'd rather be in Morocco. So basically, you know, but Mark is actually on staff for Fixlocal, and he is the community activator and working, doing a lot of media liaison. And then very exciting for me is Shireen Asden, who's here. When I was at the beginning of Soul City, I co-founded Soul City with Shireen. We worked together for 17 years, and she's back full-time to run Fixlocal. So very grateful to have this partnership back again. There are a few people I know who can run a project quite like Shireen, so very, very grateful. Eufrida is a journalist who's been working with us. I don't think she's here this evening. Maru, who, oh, Eufrida, sorry. Jeez, you see that? That's what happens when you hide behind people. And then the many friends and activists who've already contributed this. By the way, we have tested this with activists and friends in different environments before we got to launch, in different places around the country. To Zati, I don't know where Zati is, from Heartline. She did a lot of work just to get things ready for this evening. Thank you. And then from Louise from BBD. And with that, I'm going to just hand over to Lucky, or am I think? Lucky? Forget. The slide. Yes, I am. Let me just say, you know, I've been in this work for about 30 years as an NGO bottom feeder. And quite often you work with corporates and they say, okay, yeah, maybe we'll do this, you know, for nothing. And I don't like that, because if people do stuff for nothing, then they're not held accountable, and then they don't deliver their best work. But when Kevin, the CEO of, who's standing there, Kevin, CEO of BBD, said, listen, this is something we'd like to do, and we have some ideas already we're working on. And he then put Lucky Nkosi there as the head of the team to do this. And I thought, and I met Lucky, and I thought, this young guy, you know, hey, honestly, what does he know about tech? As you saw here, it was a bit dicey here, Lucky. We have been blown apart. This company has been exceptional. They have gone over and beyond. Lucky, you have been such a rock star. You and the team that you're going to name, thank you. I have seldom worked with such a professional group. So Kevin, to you and your guys at BBD, this launch this evening, thank you. And Kevin and the BBD team have said, listen, we will continue to support this for nothing. This is part of our contribution. And if we were to have paid for this, Kevin, I don't know, you guys charge a lot of money. More money than we've raised, but we're talking millions here. Millions and millions have been put into this. And as I say, we've had an amazing, amazing team. So I'm briefly, just to give you a sense of where we're going with the next, you're probably getting bored, you want drinks, snacks, etc. Where we're going is I'm just going to hand over to Lucky, who's going to talk a little bit about why he has got involved, why BBD has got involved. I'm then going to come back, do some more thanks, the various people who've been involved, and then I'm going to tell you what success looks like and where we're going from here. And then you can go and eat and drink and be merry. Okay.
Thanks, Garth. Thank you for calling me young. After I turned 25, Kevin told me that 25 is the peak of performance and that I should expect things to start going south after that. And I think that should give you a sense of who BBD actually is. We are a 40-year-old South African company. We build custom software. And as Ralph, one of our founders, always says, we are probably one of South Africa's best kept secrets. The type of software that we build really keeps the country moving. We're talking banking systems. We're talking the type of systems that really ensure that as a country, we function. And through all of this, I kept asking myself, why are we doing this? Through the sleepless nights, through the midnight calls with the team, because Kevin says that the app isn't performing as it should be. Why are we doing this? And the answer to this is actually quite easy. As a South African company, we truly believe in this country, and we really want to see this country succeed. It's evident in the type of systems that we try and build, and we constantly ask ourselves, how can we contribute back to a country that has given us so much? Personally, for me, activism is something that was sort of instilled in me from my teenage years already. Having worked with organizations such as the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation, having spent time with someone like Uncle Kathy himself, those lessons of giving back to society in every single thing that you do have sort of stuck with me. And so what we've tried to do through all of our teachings in the organizations as well is to really try and instill that passion for really solving complex problems using technology into every single thing that we do. What we did in this project is we did the easy parts. We just built the software. Writing code is really, really easy, but building usable software is the difficult part. Out of interest, the team rebuilt this entire app 3 times using 3 different technologies. I'd walk in running and say, I've got a brilliant idea. And I was told that this year I'm not allowed to have any more ideas. I've been banned from having ideas for the rest of the year, and I'm gonna try and keep to that ban. And what we did here is that we first decided to build a web application, because I personally hate apps because they take up space on my phone. I need to use all of these things. And so I really strongly motivated for us to have a website. But then we really got into the really nuanced discussion of the power of things like WhatsApp. What happens when I don't have data to actually connect to the internet? Maybe I can buy a really, really much more affordable data bundle. And so everything that Garth showed you today, you can achieve through WhatsApp without ever leaving the interface. All of those articles that you saw, we send them directly through the WhatsApp chatbot without you ever needing to use the internet browser. And so really we looked at the solution and we tried to make it as accessible as possible. And the bigger picture is that really we have looked at this as just the start. And the plan is to keep growing and making it more and more accessible. Garth spoke of an app that's going to come. And really what our focus is making sure that we get this platform in as many hands as possible. Something quite interesting that Kevin also mentioned to me, that he reminded me that I didn't write a single line of code for this project. I might have designed some things, but I didn't write any single line of code. Every single line of code was written by a BBD graduate. We hire a number of graduates from universities across the country, and we made sure that in this project, every bit of the software development is done to give them an opportunity to exercise those muscles, to really put the skills that we teach them into practice. For the past month, they've been worried about what happens if everyone in this room goes to the website at the same time. Making sure that even people with poor vision, people with digital accessibility needs can still use this website. These are the really complex and nuanced things that our grads had to grapple with. And so for us, it was about giving them the experience, making sure that we contribute our part, but also making sure that we instill in them these deep values of making sure that we contribute to the country as well. A massive, massive thank you to some of, in fact, all of the developers that worked on this. A lot of them are in the room. Leo, who's sitting over there, who really worked on the project from day one. We've got Arinao, who built a large portion of the system right at the back. And we've got Ama, who's standing right at the back there in the gray, who built pretty much 95% of the WhatsApp functionality, which is quite interesting. We do something interesting called WhatsApp flows, where you don't interact with WhatsApp as a chat. but it actually pops up an interactive interface, something which is not very popular in South Africa yet. And so we put these young people really at the bleeding edge of technology to build meaningful systems. We've got Sahu, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today because she fell ill, who was really the business analyst trying to break down the complexities of what this means. And then we got people who joined us later on, or this year rather, who are taking over from the 3 developer that started this. And that's Pewu and Tubbs, who will now be leading the development of this team sitting at the back. We've got Jesse, who really started this project with us, but unfortunately had more interesting things to build, and so left our team quite early. And then last and definitely not least, building, as I said, writing the code is really easy, but making sure that the buttons are not all red, making sure that the buttons are actually readable and that they work on the phone and not just on my computer. We really leaned heavily on the BBD user experience and user interface guild, a collective of designers that really took the challenge to make this as interesting or as interactive as possible. This journey is just the beginning for us, and we're truly committed to making sure that we see it to success. From the BBD team, thank you very much to everyone who worked on this.
Yeah, no, Lucky, again, thank you, and to the team. They really are rock stars, and it's just amazing to see these young people. I don't understand. I missed over when Lucky talks about all this stuff, but somehow it works. So just to also then just thank some other people who've been major contributors to this. Mandy from Fine, who came initially and said, listen, we need to do something, and Fine for Good. So Mandy, to you and your team. For Good team, Rudy here from the For Good team, and I think just Rudy and Michelle. Yeah, but Michelle, I've already spoken about Michelle, but Rudy and Michelle, and the board chair, Andy, so the 3 for Good. Zan from Sharp Media, again, brought together some of the people who worked on Soul City in the old days. You can take the old people, but we still have some life in us. Barbara and Alison from the Field Institute, thank you. And then Flow Communications, they're not here. They also are doing this pro bono. So they're doing some of our publicity, etc. So as I say, village to raise the child, big village, small child at the moment. Other groups we're working with is SALGA, the South African Local Government Association, the African Leadership Initiative. This was bound to happen to me this evening. I've just completely forgotten. Yes, this is Lynette. This is like your worst bloody nightmare. Hey? People you know well, and then you look at them and this is Lynette. Lynette, thank you, and sorry, etc. I'm almost definitely going to do it again. Yellowwoods, who initially put in money from the Enthovens, etc., put some money in. The Oppenheimer Memorial Trust, Bailey and Tracy are here. Thank you guys, and your board have put in significant funds. Hopefully you will not regret your investment. Okay, you never said that. Lombard, Antoinette Shand, who is the CEO of Lombard, who put in some money towards this, and then the Stella and Paul Lowenstein Charitable and Educational Trust, and that is not their logo, I made it up. They do not have a logo, so I made their logo. So, as you can see, village to make the child. So what does success look like? Because a lot of you might be saying, so where's this going? So this is baby steps. Let's, if we can shoot the lights out, fantastic, but Rome was not built in a day, and this problem was not solved in a day. So within 6 months, 5,000 users accessing Fixlocal monthly, 10,000 in 12 months, 30,000 in 18 months. Hopefully we'll blow the lights out, but let's be realistic. In 12 months, users report that Fixlocals had empowered them to work with their local authorities or to hold them to account to fix their local issues. And then in 36 months, Fixlocal has a sustainable funding model, and we can talk a bit about that later if you want. But there is ultimately some idea here about how this can become sustainable in the long run. So what's the future beyond what you've just seen? Is from the 18 metros, we'll begin to move out into other towns and across South Africa. So that is part of our next iteration. We've talked about the app. So clearly a lot of people like the app. You can actually, if you've got an Android phone, you can, on the website, you can actually take a little downloaded thing and it will sit on your phone, but we are in the process of creating the app. We're looking at AI integration. Okay, so even I am using AI these days. So this website can use it. And then we want to integrate this into municipal sites that work. So Cape Town, as a lot of you know, actually has a site that does work. There are other places in the country that do. So ultimately, instead of going out of Fixlocal, you will go directly, we'll integrate. Did you know that, Lucky? We're about to integrate. It's quite nice. We have the ideas and say, Lucky, can we make it happen? So the future is definitely to go hyper-local, as in your suburb, where you live. So based on where you are, what's your residence association? What are the key initiatives happening in your area? What are the local activities? And then at the moment, you'll see there is no login. We want to make this as seamless as possible. But if you do want to log in, then we can begin to connect you to others in your community. And then really interesting, and this is something that actually BBD had already started to work on, and I know there's been a number of initiatives like this, but basically connecting communities to accredited suppliers. So if you want to go and mow your park, maybe there's small businesses in your area that can do it. And that's also about the township economy. It's not about bringing in, guys from outside. It's about keeping stuff local. And actually, it was very interesting. Somebody sent me a WhatsApp today where they're advertising a job specifically for Ward 122 in Joburg for the community liaison officer, and you have to live in that ward. So those are the sort of things that can happen. And then what's interesting is the potential to collect data. Is this data collection can be identified on the issues. We already will begin to know what people are looking at, and we'll know where they are. And the more data we get, the more useful it will be for many people who are working on the issues of transformation in South Africa. And then how do we keep this data around contact details current? Which is, what happens if Joburg's site suddenly does work? How do we then, the idea is that I don't know, those of you that know Wikipedia, there are accredited editors on Wikipedia who've been accredited to edit Wikipedia. We'll have local editors, people who are accredited by us to update the data on a regular basis. So that actually we're getting community activists telling us that this now is working, this is not, and so on. So that will be the end there. And then this is probably this is the killer app. So you're waiting for this. Are you excited? Like it's not working.
That's all, folks.
I think between Lucky, myself, Ivan, etc., any questions? I'm sure you're all probably desperate to get something to eat, carry on drinking, etc. Again, thanks to BBD for hosting us. You guys are rock stars. Thank you so much, Kevin, your board, your chair. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I hope you're inspired. Thank you for becoming ambassadors for good. For Fixlocal. And we really appreciate your service. And we will be sending you your T-shirt in the post. Thankfully, the post is not working so well. So something else we've got to fix. So questions for me, for Lucky. Comments then. Okay, if you don't have questions, make a comment. Yeah. So maybe I'll answer the second question is ultimately we're not the whistleblowing platform. what we're doing is that we are connecting you to groups like Corruption Watch, etc. News 24 has just launched a. So as I say, our job here is to connect to things that really do work. We're not the platform to do these things. My understanding, like, is until right now, all we can do is track some very basic user data. Until people actually say we're opting in, we're logging in, we'll have some more data, but then they're agreeing to us having that data. So right now, as I understand it, Lucky?
So at the moment, you saw on the website, there's absolutely no logging in, which means that the type of data that we're tracking is more summary data. So we're collecting how many people chose Johannesburg versus Rosebank, and what type of issues were they really concerned about in that area. So it's more about looking at the volume of the types of issues that people are interested in, and less about who specifically is interested in those issues. And then once we get into the portion where you're logging in and consenting, then we've got our standard data privacy mechanisms that will then put in place as we do for all of our other projects. So there's, yeah, pretty comfortable. Correct. Correct. So we track absolutely every single page on the website, how many people have landed on it. We see when they landed on it. It also helps us monitor the performance of the application as the team. Yeah, but we can't piece it together as to who actually went onto that page to look at how to report corruption, for instance. We'll just see that this many people from this area looked at that.
Caesar. Yeah, I mean, I think we've got to, you know, there's what we call our icebox. There's a whole lot of things that we want to add and look at over time. And the ombudsman, presumably, I don't know whether ombudsman for local governments, there probably is. These are the sort of things that, as I say, the baby's literally walking out of the cot. But I think these are the sort of things that we will look at. We've also got to see what people want. So yeah, we are really going to be learning along this route, Caesar. Yeah.
Perhaps I can just add a bit of color to that. What we're launching today is really the infrastructure, the shell and the idea of how information can be collated and presented. What's going to come in the next few weeks is really a large and an exponential increase in the type of information that we present in there. For instance, at the moment around environment, we saw fallen trees as one of the examples. There are many environmental issues that can happen in an area. So we're looking at various ways of collecting and cleaning up that information and presenting it in a much more accessible manner. And so we're going to see a large growth in the types of issues that we deal with and the types of solutions that people feel have worked for them as well.
Lynette, sorry. Sorry, Lynette. Jeez, I feel bad. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. So my question is, there are a lot of, you know, I Love Fourways, I Love Rosebank Facebook groups, and for the older generation like me that are still on Facebook, I just want to understand, how are you going to reach out to these communities to encourage them and their members to sign on? Because there's so much activity and stories that you could, you know, draw from those Facebook groups to build the content and examples of what's worked in those communities.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I'm saying is our next step is to go what we're calling hyperlocal. And how to do that is about how do you know, this has got to be a tool that is used not to replace your Facebook group or to replace your WhatsApp group, but a tool that Facebook groups and WhatsApp groups can use. But when we go more local, it will be about helping people to get information, the static information maybe, that is more local. So we still got to work that out, to be quite honest. But that at the moment we've got the big picture for metros. And as Lucky was saying, I think, you know, the infrastructure is being built. It's how we then build from there. But hopefully the idea is that we've got to go down to that level and to be useful for that level. Yeah.
Thanks, no, I forgot your name. Thanks, Garth. But just also say congratulations on this big milestone. I know it's taken a lot of hard work, and we held a venture workshop for Garth at Ali, and it was brainstorming. That was 18 months ago. So it really, it's a lot of work, and congratulations to the team that's put this together.
Yeah, thanks, Lynette. Thanks so much. Thank you. You got to.
No, from time to time, the city, for example, will invite comment on all kinds of proposed changes to the legislation, to bylaws. It'll invite comments on, for example, the IDP's exercises and so on. Now, for one person in a let's say a small community organization like I come from, Kensington, it's a huge task, especially when you're a volunteer and you have other things to do in addition. So I was wondering whether there's the possibility, firstly, to receive notification of these exercises, of these and the invitations to comment, and then secondly, if many different people in a community contribute their views and suggestions and proposals for let's say revising a bylaw, that the system, the platform, can aggregate these, clean it up, package it, and then send it off.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great icebox idea. I think one of the things that I think we've learned, and I'm sure in this industry, is that we've got to make sure that the basics work first. And if the basics work, then we can begin to build an ecosystem around it. If we try and do too many things out the door, we'll become all things to all people, and we won't have done, and it just will be a mess. So we've got to, over time, I think ideas like yours is where we can be going. But we've got to also be very cognizant of the fact that if we try and do too many things, that we will end up being a bit of a fruit salad. So these are exactly the type of things that we'd like to end up doing, but it may take us a while before we get there. My colleagues for good will nod their heads, knowing the lessons that have been learnt over the years.
Over here, thank you. So the name is Tebogo. I just had 4 brief points. Number one, I think the ambassador program is going to be crucial for you. I think people need to see what it looks like to actually get things done through the platform. So I think there's a bit of investment that should be kind of put into that, not kind of waiting for people to take up the call to be ambassadors. So curating those is going to be absolutely important. Your residents associations, obviously you've mentioned them. I think they are a natural kind of space to convene people behind to do something. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. When you start creating profiles, I'm hoping that there's maybe a gamification and incentive aspect to it, because human beings operate as human beings. There's ways in which we behave, and that's why Instagram is such a popular platform, and TikTok. People want to, be seen to be doing dope stuff. So I think, that's a natural behavioral thing to look at. And then fixed local days. I think there's an opportunity to do that. And that's not doing anything outside of what you currently have, but identifying a day in the month that amplifies the idea that get out with your kids, do a fixed local activity, and maybe even meet with your mates for a braai thereafter. So just some ideas. Thank you.
Yeah, great idea.
So I think what you've mentioned is absolutely crucial. I mean, just from our experience as an organization, we're looking at gamification and playfulness, and we're integrating it into pretty much everything that we do. Internally, we're talking everything from learning within the company is through a gamified platform. We're talking things like how we give each other feedback. We're looking at how we integrate playfulness in order to encourage people to participate in things like that. So it's absolutely core and critical to how we design systems for use. So 100% agree with you.
Thanks so much for the presentation. So there's just two questions or maybe ideas from my side. The first is regarding municipal budgets and possibly having a button that directs people to municipal budgets. And linked to that, I think, is infrastructure development in communities, because that's what people really want to track. If there's a new taxi rank being built in your area, who's the contractor, how much has been set aside, where is that project? And I think a site like this could play a useful role. And then secondly is the opportunity for local government elections next year, and whether there's any thinking in that regard. Something like maybe developing a user-generated criteria on how to rank or rate councillors and how to elect a councillor, on what basis do you elect a councillor? And I think that could be helpful for next year as well. Thanks.
I think those are absolutely brilliant ideas, Zakra, especially around local government elections. So forwarding into the ideas, man. And yeah, so I think one of the crucial things that you'll see on the no luck portion on how to apply pressure, one of the first articles that we've gone live with is helping people understand how local government works, because very few people actually do understand where local government fits into the bigger scheme of things. So it's definitely something that's quite important, I think, to the whole team. And we're looking at various ways to expand that content. So thanks, Sakra.
Sorry, can I ask a few?
Yes, no, go ahead.
I just want to ask a few more follow-up questions. Garth, you mentioned that this had been tested with activists around the country, and I'm curious as to what some of the feedback and the outcomes of that testing was. And then will the app be zero rated once it's developed? That's my next question. And then last question, how are you currently getting your good news stories? Are you just scraping media, or is there some sort of a feedback loop through the app that you can use? So somebody reports, they get action, and then do they feed it back to you? So I'm just curious about that. Thanks.
So sorry, those are great. By the way, none of the things that you've raised, we're recording what you're saying, because I think there's some really amazing ideas here. And we're recording. So your question or your comments earlier, I mean, I think these are things, as I say, our big challenge is not to do too many things all at once. The need and the opportunities are huge. We've just got to work on this so that we build it incrementally. But just coming back to your questions. So just coming to the stories, up to now, what we have done is we have scraped by and large, and we've heard about stories, and we've got Eufrida here, over there, and Maru, who are both journalists who are busy looking for stories, etc. But if this ecosystem begins to work, then we'll start to get people giving us stories, which in turn we'll be able to pass on to media partners. So that'll be a virtuous circle of things. And sorry, you had a third point, and I'm forgetting a lot of stuff tonight. So. Yeah, so Mark Hayward was responsible for working with I think we had a group of about 20 or 30 people who walked through it. No, by and large, very good. I think a lot of people have said this is the activist platform we've been looking for. However, it's the beginning. And so there's a lot of comments that you've all made, which is about, but that would be a nice feature. And what about that? And etc. So I think I don't think we've had anyone saying this is a really crap idea. The idea is not crap. The idea is fine, but it's about how does this, I'm not sure one can say crap at a launch. Yeah, anyway. But is that there's a lot of things, as you've heard already from people here, that people would like to see into the future. So I think, Shireen, we got good feedback. Yeah. Sorry, zero rated. So we had an early stage discussion with Vodacom, who indicated that they would zero rate this. They've actually developed a municipal platform, which is they're trying to get municipalities to use. So the CEO of Vodacom said, we will zero rate this when it's live. And I think if they zero rate it, it'd be very hard for the others not to zero rate it. Yeah. Any other questions, or people now at a point where you are desperate to have a drink? I think we're done. Just to thank you all so much. As I say, a lot of this is about saying thank you. tonight. It's the beginning of a journey, and a thanks to the many people and organizations who have been involved in this journey up to now. And as I say, we're literally walking out the door, and there's, praying for a bit of wisdom as to how we develop this into the future. And again, just wanting to thank the Heartlines board. Thank you, Ivan, as you close off for us this evening, and BBD. So thanks, Ivan. Over to you.
Thanks, Garth. Well, knowing that I'm between snacks and drinks, but just sincerely to say, as you saw, there are so many people who are involved and so many partners. But let's not forget, it took one person to come with an idea. And he's been spending the whole evening thanking everybody else and all organizations internally, externally, and not thanking himself, which is God. That's who he is. So on behalf of Heartlines, he's come with somebody with an idea, somebody with a passion for this country, somebody who wants things to be done. It was interesting listening to all the different feedback, fantastic ideas that we had. But what we must never lose sight of is what God's shown. We are the connector. It's not like there are not many initiatives or things not happening out there. They are. The role of this is being a connector to know, where do I start? They might as well take you to some of those things that are there. That's what we are. That's why we are quite also be careful. When I was even hearing about local government, to say absolutely, as long as whatever we get involved with, intended or unintended, there's no political slant to it. Because all we are looking for is just South Africans who just want this country to work and to fix something. Nothing else. It's just straightforward and as simple as that. So Garth, on behalf of the board and everybody here, thank you. Thanks. I'm gonna have the drinks now.